Here's your news for June 7th, 2020. And your headlines for today include: is WWE using Dominik to keep Rey Mysterio in the company? 2 huge matches added to Extreme Rules 2020 lineup. The real reason why Heath Slater returned to WWE Raw. WWE reportedly discovered more positive coronavirus test results. Shayna Baszler returns to in-ring action. Is WWE taking action on superstars who are refusing to work? Why Brian Pillman Jr. is denied release. CM Punk lists his list of contenders for Cody Rhodes' AEW TNT title, and more. We are kicking off today with news from Rey Mysterio, as the former world champion has been working without a contract for quite some time. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer explained that though the story of Mysterio working without a deal only went public this month, Rey has been reportedly working for months without a contract. Meltzer added that the current angle regarding Mysterio's eye could have been planned as a way to write the masked superstar off the show before his contract expired, and now it's unclear what the plan is for him. That wasn't all that Meltzer had to say on the matter, as it's clear that WWE want Rey to re-sign, and are reportedly using Rey's son Dominik for leverage. Meltzer said, "Part of the reason WWE is going to push him to sign is Dominik. I mean, it's a solid reason, but then it's not, because the reality is wherever Rey goes, Dominik will certainly get a shot." Meltzer went on to explain that Dominik has looked good in every physical encounter so far, but for someone who's never actually competed in front of a crowd, it'll be a big step for Dominik, and an even bigger one if his dad isn't there to help. He added, "Rey's gonna make money wherever he goes for his next contract. He will, but I think one of his goals is to get Dominik set up." Having Rey re-sign with WWE would seemingly help Dominik as he transitions from trainee to WWE superstar. And given that AEW is always looking for big names to bring in, the WWE could really do with inking a new deal for the master of the 619. We are looking ahead to the horror show at Extreme Rules next, as this week's Raw saw 2 more matches added to the card. Rey Mysterio will look to get revenge on Seth Rollins with a special eye for an eye match, even saying he will take the Monday Night Messiah's eye out, whilst MVP will challenge United States champion Apollo Crews and is very confident about his upcoming title match. In fact, MVP is so confident about his seemingly assured victory that he also revealed a new redesign of the title, which he says he'll be wearing when he defeats Crews at the horror show. The WWE's official Twitter account later confirmed that whoever wins between Crews and MVP at the pay-per-view will take home the new title design, as the current design will be officially retired 17 years after it was introduced. In classic WWE fashion, the new United States title replica is already being sold on WWEshop.com, and fans will have to wait and see who leaves the horror show at Extreme Rules pay-per-view on July 19th as the true United States champion. A new title wasn't the only surprise appearance on this week's Raw, as after a month out with an injury, Kairi Sane returned for her first match since the May 26th episode. Facing off against Sasha Banks, who will challenge Sane's partner Asuka for the Raw Women's title at Extreme Rules, the match ended prematurely when Bayley attacked Kairi, but it's still good to see the talented Kabuki Warrior back in the ring. Speaking of returns, Heath Slater returned to Raw this week despite his release in April, and though he didn't win against his former tag partner and reigning WWE champion Drew McIntyre, it was still an emotional night for the one-man band. Cutting a post-match interview backstage, Slater said that the match was something that McIntyre had promised him, and had plenty of praise for his fellow 3MB bandmate. He said, "He's the man, the champ, my brother both inside and outside the ring. I'm pretty sure that he loves me after he helped me up and gave me a hug. No, this was a nice closing of a chapter, so let's see what the future brings for me." We'll have to see what the future holds for the former WWE superstar, but given that Slater has teased a move to Impact Wrestling, possibly at next Saturday's Slammiversary event, fans may not have to wait long until Heath is back in the ring. Now, we've previously reported that the company found over 24 positive cases at a recent round of testing, and now it looks like this number has increased. According to Pro Wrestling Sheet, the most recent round of testing before tapings found even more people test positive, after a total of 1,500 tests were reportedly carried out in June. Renee Young, Jamie Noble, Adam Pearce, and Kayla Braxton have all revealed that they tested positive, with this being Braxton's second time, and though we don't know who tested positive most recently, we wish everyone a speedy recovery. Back to the ring now, and one person fans haven't seen lately is Shayna Baszler, but that will soon change. According to Mike Johnson at PW Insider, the Queen of Spades was at the company's latest Performance Center tapings, where she worked a match for Main Event. Despite being originally booked to win the Women's Rumble and the Money in the Bank matches, 2020 hasn't been a great year for Baszler, who fans last saw compete on the May 12th edition of Raw, where she defeated Natalya. Given that the company currently has no stories for the two-time former NXT Women's Champion, it's unknown when Baszler will return to the Red brand, but fans can catch the former MMA fighter on Main Event at some point in the coming weeks. Now, if you've been watching WWE for the past few months, you'll know that several big names have been absent. Given the ongoing situation, stars including Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn have opted not to compete, but it looks like the company won't be treating these missing stars the same. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer spoke about whether the company will freeze the contracts of superstars, saying, "With Kevin Owens, it's only been a couple of weeks, so I guess it's not. But with Sami Zayn, it probably will be. If it's Roman Reigns, they may not want to piss him off, and he isn't going anywhere anyway." Though WWE themselves have said that they won't force anyone who feels uncomfortable working to appear at the Performance Center, the company does have a history of adding months to contracts that have been frozen due to absences. At this time, we don't know what actions WWE will take in the long run, but it certainly looks likely that Sami Zayn will be punished more than his colleagues. We are looking ahead to SmackDown next, as there's some big segments announced for the show. During last night's Raw, it was confirmed that Jeff Hardy will be on Miz TV to discuss what Sheamus has done to him lately, whilst the New Day will defend their SmackDown Tag Team titles against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that this match will take place on SmackDown instead of the horror show at Extreme Rules, and it may just be a matter of days before the Swiss Superman and the King of Strong Style are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We're stepping out of WWE now, as a lot of alleged wrongdoings in the wrestling world recently came to light, and many claims were made at the Team Vision Dojo. After it was revealed that the dojo has employed those who have criminal records due to their actions with minors, Saif Al-Sabah requested and was granted his Major League Wrestling release, as he didn't appreciate that MLW's COO Jared St. Laurent is a former Team Vision dojo trainer. Whilst Al-Sabah was allowed to leave, the same can't be said for Brian Pillman Jr., who shared messages with Al-Sabah saying he was denied his requested release. Pillman is set to make his AEW Dark debut today against Shawn Spears, and if he follows Al-Sabah's advice and publicly requests his release, he could soon be joining All Elite Wrestling full-time. One person who's no stranger to controversy himself is Hulk Hogan, which is perhaps why a biopic is in the works about the Hulkster's life. It's been confirmed previously that Marvel star Chris Hemsworth will be playing Hogan in the Netflix biopic, and described the training regime to become the former WWF champion as insanely physical to Total Film this week. He added, "I will have to put on more size than I ever have before, even more than I put on for Thor. There is the accent as well as the physicality and the attitude." Eric Bischoff is also on board with the Hogan project as an executive director, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of input the former SmackDown executive director has on this interesting project. Over to AEW now, and as TNT champion, Cody Rhodes is always on the hunt for new challengers for his title, but a recent tweet asking who should answer his weekly open challenge got some pretty interesting answers. One person who replied to Cody was CM Punk, who gave his top 5 picks to face Rhodes for the title, including ECW's Sign Guy, Domino with Cherry, Fearless Jack Bull, Dean Visk, and New Jack. Over the years, Cody has proved that he can have a great match with many people, though some on Punk's list may be a challenge. Ultimately, it's up to Rhodes to decide who he'll be facing, and fans will find out his next opponent very soon. Now, this past weekend, former WWE superstar Sarah Logan promised a huge announcement, and she has certainly delivered today. On the latest episode of Wild and Free TV, Sarah and her husband Raymond, better known as Viking Raider Eric, announced that they are expecting their first child. In the video, the former Riot Squad member shows off a pregnancy test from 5 weeks ago and said she has a feeling it'll be a boy. Eric also took to social media to express his delight that he's going to be a father. We here at Slat Rock would like to send our congratulations to the happy couple, as this is some much-needed good news during this crazy year. And we're finishing today with news from Monday Night Raw, as whilst fans will have to wait until the horror show at Extreme Rules to see Asuka and Sasha Banks collide in the ring, the Boss is already playing mind games online. On Twitter, the #1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship said that the Empress showed up late to a recent set of tapings and tattled to Vince McMahon to make sure she was fine. It's likely that this whole story from Banks is in kayfabe to build towards their title match, but it's certainly an interesting way to keep the story going out of the ring. This is just the latest shot in this battle of mind games between the two, and hopefully the Raw Women's Champion will be on time on July 19th when she defends her title at the horror show at Extreme Rules.